At this time, I'd like to invite Jordyn Feingold to the podium. Jordyn is a student at the Icahn School of Medicine at Mount Sinai.
Hi, everyone. Hello. Good morning. So I am a third-year medical student at Mount Sinai, and I am so grateful to be here in this room. This is now my third meeting with this collaborative. And I think it's important that before I get into the appreciative inquiry model, that we all just take a moment and appreciate that we are here today talking about these issues, which many of you, when you were in my shoes, no one was thinking about this or talking about this and setting the stage for the next generation. So on behalf of medical students and pre-medical students who are here today and trainees, I'm just really grateful that we are all being so intentional in thinking about the future of our professions. So in the vein of being intentional, many of you have heard this morning in Charlie's remarks and in Holly's remarks that we are moving towards this appreciative inquiry model or approach to our conversations today. And I want to explain what that means for those of you who may not know and clarify we're not engaging in a formal appreciative inquiry summit, which is a very formal process. We're using the approach. So I'll explain a little bit about what that means and how it's going to affect all of us in this room over the course of the next several hours. So appreciative inquiry it's a deliberate approach to positive organizational change that focuses on and capitalizes on what institutions and organizations are doing at their best, what a system looks like at its ideal place, rather than the negatively biased medical model, which is all about getting rid of dysfunction and getting us to baseline. And I think this theoretical conceptual distinction is very important for us. We are not the collaborative on eliminating burnout. We are the collaborative for establishing clinician well-being and resilience. And through our language and through our process and through the questions we ask, we want to get to that place. What does it look like when we are the most well? What do our organizations look like when they are thriving and working at their best? And central to this approach, which you'll see in the questions throughout the day, these have been very clearly cultivated and drafted and edited to be in this appreciative framework. It's also about building the relationships with each other in this room. So Holly spoke beautifully about this, that we are nothing without the give and take and the relationships we have with the patient and our colleagues and with each other. And we are now we're in year two. We've started in 2017. We're here now after several meetings, and we've started to build relationships with one another across generations and across professions. And this is a great opportunity for us throughout the rest of the day and throughout the rest of the week to really capitalize on those interactions and on building these relationships and being exemplars for what we want to bring back to our own institutions. So it's not about ignoring the problems that are ubiquitous in these fields. It's about changing our relationship to the problems to really capitalize on how we can capitalize on what's best. Addressing dysfunction by harmonizing on the systems that are doing so much good. So Charlie's going to talk specifically a little in a few minutes about how we're going to sit at our tables and how we're going to engage with one another based on the little stickers on our name tags. But now I'm going to invite Tim up to come talk about some ground rules for the rest of the day. And Tim is one of my favorite people ever. He also happens to be the Chief of Staff and Senior Vice President of the ACGME. So Tim.
I'm asking Jordyn to stay because we're sort of a metaphor for what's going to happen the rest of the day. This is a young woman who's at the beginning of her career. This is an old man who was at the end of his career. And we've come from all across the world, actually. There are people all across this nation. We have people from as far away as Singapore and as close as my apartment is a couple of blocks from here. We have people in their 20s here, and we have people in their 90s here. We have various professions: nurses, pharmacists, physicians, dentists, occupational therapists, social workers, and more. We have different cultures, different races, different sexual orientations, different genders, and more than that. So what we have for you as a way to sort of get us together to make these next conversations really successful is a few ground rules that Jordyn and I have found to be really helpful. And see if I can work this the right way. Let's go. Okay. The first one is you're going to be moving, and Charlie will tell you, to different tables and meeting different people throughout the day. So the first thing to do is to make a new friend every time you're at your table. You don't have to introduce yourself to all 10 of the people at your table, but I bet you that most people in here don't know most people in here, right? And there are people that you're sitting at your table right at this very moment that you've never seen before in your life, or you've never talked before. So let's just practice this with somebody that you don't know at your table. Introduce yourself and make your first new friend. We're going to do this. We're going to do this.
Got it. Good morning.
Huh?
Good morning was great.
Okay, in the interest of time, Charlie is holding up the, you've way gone over your time already. Ivory is doing that. Once you start making a new friend, it's hard to stop, isn't it? Okay, here's ground rule number 2 and number 3. Okay, what we want to encourage in these friendly look at this.
Yeah.
I know.
We've opened the bag of worms here.
We've started the floodgates. Okay, you will have plenty of time to talk to each other.
We're going to have a problem with this corner of the room over here.
We've lost control over the Stuart, Slav, and Michael table over here. What we want to do is encourage honest, respectful conversations. The honesty is about, if you leave here saying, I should have said this, or I should have said that, I don't know why that person said it, and you didn't have an engaged conversation, you need to do that. The myth is that high productive groups have no disagreement or controversy. Actually, they do. They have a lot, but it's all in service of the mission, which we'll talk about in a second. Second one is, everybody in here is really important. Your voice is important. We need you to participate. Charlie got up and said that she was an introvert. We need the introverts to come out. You know, force yourself out a little bit. It will benefit everybody here. And by the way, you'll like it. For the extroverts, let me see. Yeah, for the extrovert, we got them all at the same time. So the extroverts, listen. You know, we tend to, when we're together, we tend to listen and formulate our answer within about 2 words of what the other person is saying, so we can debate them. Listen for understanding. Most of us here are decision makers. We know how to make decisions. And once we hear something that counters what we think happens, it's like a steel door goes down, trap it. When you hear a new idea, when you hear a new concept, force that trap door to stay open, because you may just learn something or may just be able to contribute to creating a whole new way. We have a time focus, just like Ivory is telling me to stop, and I'm basically unstoppable. So here we're going. And because this is a rare event, there are a lot of really knowledgeable, interesting, cool people that are here from all across the world. Again, enjoy this moment. You don't experience this very often. These conversations, these kinds of meetings tend to be, I'll talk to you and you listen to me. We're going to have, most of this meeting is going to be a conversation. Enjoy the moment. So introduce yourselves, honest, respectful conversations, participate, listen for understanding, not to respond to not to debate their ideas, stay open to new ideas and concepts, have a time focused, and enjoy, and have fun. Yeah. And my colleague Jordyn and I will be making sure that you're doing all of those things throughout the day.
Fun.
Mandatory fun. Thank you. Charlie.
Thank you, Jordyn and Tim. So I mentioned we have about 750 folks joining us on the webcast. Hopefully you could turn to someone near you and introduce yourself during those couple of minutes. But we want to make sure that you're engaged throughout the conversation. So we're using a platform called Poll Everywhere. How many folks in the room have used Poll Everywhere before? Okay, excellent. So we're familiar with it. If you're in the room, feel free to use it, but certainly if you're on the webcast, this is really for you and we want to hear from you. So Poll Everywhere is a real-time audience engagement tool. We'll post questions throughout the day. We'll have them up for a set amount of time, and we will ask folks to submit responses either using their cell phone, via text, or logging on to a web browser and submitting a response. And then those responses will populate on the screen in this room. Okay, so we're going to practice just to make sure everyone has it. So I'm using my phone, so I've put in the number 22333, 2 2s and 3 3s, and then you're going to text to that number C Wellbeing 606. Okay, and if you're on your computer, you're going to go to POLLEV.com/CWellbeing606. Okay, raise your hand if you're ready to move on to the next step. Okay. Okay. All right, so our first question, just to get us warmed up, what is the name of your organization? All right, we've got folks from the Mayo Clinic, UCSF, ASHP, ACCME. We got a hi, everybody. ABOG, UPenn, ANCC. Please feel free to spell these out for folks who are unfamiliar with, okay, University of Vermont Medical Center, ACGME. Okay, all right, seems like we've got the hang of it, so let's move on to our next question. What is your profession? Pharmacist? Surgeon? Communications? MD? Anesthesiologist? Surgery resident? Nurse? Okay, fantastic. So I think we've all got the hang of it. We're going to use this throughout the day. So when we're in our table discussions, we're going to put a number of questions on the screen. We're going to have questions up for 7 minutes each so that folks on the webcast can take those 7 minutes, think about and submit a response to that question. And that will populate in this room, and also staff and the facilitators will read it out during the report out session. And I have 1 minute from Ivory, so I'll just note that we're going to go to break and we'll come back at 10:55. And when you return, you should return to the table number that's in your red sticker. So please move there when you come back. We'll have our first table discussion. Our first facilitator, Jess Freed, will talk a bit about the instructions, what's expected during this time, the roles of everybody at the table, and then we'll take it from there. But please join me in a round of applause for our first set of speakers.